Hi guys, welcome to Code Decode. So this video is again sponsored by Geeks for Geeks. Previously, if you would have remembered, we have given you some free coupon codes for the courses which were available on Geeks for Geeks. Again, Geeks for Geeks have come up with a similar exciting offers for you. So let's see what they have to offer this time. So from 12th to 18th of this April 2021, they are celebrating the biggest festival of coding, which is the Geek Summer Carnival 2021 for you people. Now let's see what they have to offer us in this particular event. So they are basically offering us 4 type of coupon codes. So this is worth rupees 800, worth rupees 2500, worth rupees 4500 and worth rupees 8000. So what is so good in this? It's that during this period of time you can actually redeem this particular coupon code, but you have to just pay rupees 500. So just by paying rupees 500, you are getting a course which could have cost you rupees 800 and also some GFG branded mask as a goodie for you people. So it's head-on directly 300 rupees benefit for you people. Now you will ask me, how do you redeem this offer? So you can just log in, sign up, you can redeem this particular, you just have to pay 500 rupees and you will get a coupon code of rupees 800. Now using this 800, you can go to any live online courses which is available in Geeks for Geeks platform. You can use the coupon code only between their Geek Summer Carnival festival when it is on and going on, which is from 12th to 18th of April 2021. So this is a very limited time period deal. So you have to quickly go purchase these coupons for you, which is actually at a very reduced cost. So 800 will only cost you 500. Here you save 300 rupees. Here you save 1000 rupees, where you have to just pay 1500 rupees and you will get a coupon course for 2500 rupees. And whatever course you want on Geeks for Geeks, you can purchase, which is around 2500 rupees for you people. Now similarly for 4500, you just have to pay 2500 rupees. So this is a very nice deal. But you will have just 7 days to use this. So it's a very limited offer. You can quickly go and have a look at these offers. Now this is the best offer I found. This is a straight away 3000 rupees off on the coupon code, and with that they also give you the branded t-shirts and mask and included into this offer. So please go and have a look at these offers. Also, all the 4 links will be given in the description below. So today we are going to see how to implement custom exception handling in the Spring Boot project from scratch. So till now we have seen that if an interview asked you to code a CRUD application from scratch in 30, 60 or 120 minutes, then and there, how can you do that quickly? This is one of the most common interview question asked in the hands-on rounds of the big giant companies. So in the previous video, we have seen that. We have seen how to create that CRUD operation quickly without wasting much of the time. So we have done that in like 30 or 60 minutes time. Now, this may not be enough. They might be expecting you to handle the corner cases. Just the CRUD is not what they want actually. They might expect you to handle the corner cases. For example, if in this controller I'm sending the employee ID is null, or this employee ID is null, or when you're trying to save the employee's name is null, you have to handle those cases. If not, then if the code breaks, so suppose I'm sending it null and the code breaks, or I'm sending something which is not there in the repository. Say I only have 2 employees and I'm expecting the employee with ID 5, it is not there, then for sure your code is going to break. And the front end guy will go mad around trying to figure out what actually happened in your backend. Then what will you do? So what you have to do is nothing but do the custom exception handling for all the requirements of the corner cases. So today we are going to look into that quickly. So let's get started. Now I will expect you to quickly code with me so that you are able to do that similarly in the interviews too. So this is a pure CRUD application. So if you can see in the controller, we have CRUD, that is create, retrieve in 2 ways, either all or with employee ID, update and delete. The simple CRUD operations with everything in place, the repository in place, the service interface in place and service IMPL in place. So what you have to do, the first thing is quickly create the custom exception classes. So the path will be that from service, we don't have any repository code here, so we don't need any DAO exception, custom exception. What we need is business exceptions and controller exception. So your business exception should be capable enough to handle your business exceptions which are coming in the validations and logics, and your controller exception class should be capable enough to handle the controller exceptions and send the appropriate message to the front end people so that they won't go mad around like what happened in the backend, why actually code is broke, what wrong input is given because of which the code is actually breaking at the backend. So let's get started. Let's quickly create a new package. See, the package name is custom exception. Okay. In this custom exception, let me quickly create a class for you, and we're going to have two exceptions. Business exception and okay, so let's first create a business exception. We'll create a copy for the controller exception. So I'm going to create this as a component. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take two things here. The first thing will be a string type code, which is nothing but an error code, and the second thing will be the description or the error message, right? So this is going to be the error message. Okay, now we do have two things in place. And remember how to make a class as a custom exception. You have to extend what? Runtime exception, right? Sorry, runtime exception. Okay. Now, as soon as you make it a runtime exception, you will always get an exception or the warning which says a serializable class business exception does not declare a static final serial UID type of type long. So what you can do, you can currently what I'm doing, I'm adding a default serial number here. Okay. Now what next am I trying to do? I'm trying to generate a getter setter and source, generate getters setters and generate. And what also I'm trying to generate? I'm also trying to generate constructors. So I'm trying to generate all field exception also. Okay. And also, okay, when the error will come, I'll tell you. You also have to have a no argument exception also. So let me do that for you. They should be, I've already covered this. You should not have exception class with just the parameterized constructor. You should also have a constructor as a no parameterized constructor also for the instantiation of this class, because once you add this as a parameterized exception constructor class in the class, then you should also have a non-parameterized constructor too. It is not given by default by the Java people to you. Now since you have this in place, I can say that yes, my business exception is ready to be used. I can just copy the same and make the name as controller exception. That's all you have to do to create your exception classes. If you have code written for the repository also, I don't have, because I've just used the existing method, so I don't have anything here. If you have here also, then you have to create another exception, which is the DAO exception, the repository exception accordingly. So let's see if the things are ready for me. Yes, the things are all ready for me. Now let me quickly close this for you. Now, how the first step is done. The first step was to create the exceptions. Once it is created, now what you have to do? You have to use them. So the very first thing, let's start with the corner cases. I'm just giving you an examples. Your corner cases and requirement may depend upon the project to project, but these basic things you should handle always in your code. So let's first start. I'm actually closing everything. Let's first start with the service only, and then when we are handling the custom exceptions here, we are going to throw to what? We are going to throw it to controller. So there we are going to handle it again and with that is going to be thrown to front end people. So let's quickly see if we are trying to add an employee, what all exceptions can happen. So let me put this code in try first. Okay, so now I have put in my try. Now there can be a case that if you have sent an employee to be saved, but its name is null, dot get name dot is empty, or the second case may be if its length is 0. That means you have forgot to put equal to 0. That means you have forgot to put the name in the form from where the front end people is sending you the data, and front end people had forgot to put a validation in the form for the null checking of the name, and now you are checking it. Then what will happen? It's a wrong data to be sent. So you should throw an exception. Throw which exception? You are in which layer? You are in business layer. So you should throw a business exception saying, okay, now remember we have two things here, right? The business exception is throwing what? Sorry, new business exception is capable enough to handle that, and it is having two methods. What are these methods or variables? That is the error code and the error message. So the two things that you should give is error code and error message. But what should be the error code be? So remember, few people do this mistake of putting 404, 403, 501. These are the HTTP codes which are already in use. You should not use them as a customized exception codes in your project. You should always use a series which is not in use even now. So for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 series are in use. Somewhere here and there they are having numbers which are used. So I always prefer using 600 series. So if I say 601 as my custom error code, which says that please send proper name, it's blank. So is this a valid exception that a user can have an intact into what wrong he has done? If this wouldn't have been sent, or you have just thrown an exception, if internal server error 404, 401 something has happened, the user won't have been able to understand what actually happened behind the scene. But to make those people understand what actually happened, you have to show them that what actually thing wrong that they are doing. So this is wrong that they are doing. They are not sending you the proper name. It's blank. So the exception is thrown. Now here I am going to catch it. So I am going to catch multiple things. See, this is the corner case that I have handled. You can have multiple type of corner cases. Okay. Now what will happen if I'm trying to save? Now save method itself says that if whole this employee entity is null, what will happen? It will throw an exception called as illegal argument exception. So first, before catching an exception, I should catch illegal argument exception. And if illegal argument exception is thrown, I should throw my business exception, which is saying that please give some user friendly message to me so that I can make the user understand what happened. So this is where my illegal argument exception is catched. So when is this particular thing catched? It is catched when the entity is null. So I can say given employee is null, please don't leave it blank or something like that. I'm cut shorting it here, and I'm expecting that I'm going it as a plus e dot get message. Okay, so this is my second argument. What will be the first argument? As I've told you, this is another kind of exception. This is when your name is not null, rather the whole employee object is null. Then I'm trying to give it as 602. Why I'm trying to give it a different name? Because if you give the same message, when this particular exception is handled on the front end, the people will not understand if both are 601 that either employee is whole null or the employee's name is null. So what is the issue? The whole exact issue is not known. That is why I'm expecting you to handle it in a different way, so that when this particular exception is handled on the front end, they will be able to distinguish between the exception which happened in the back end. Now once this is done, I'm actually now catching a simple exception which might have happened for any reason. So I'm giving it a 603, and the exception is something went wrong. This is a generalized error. Something went wrong in service layer. Okay. Once this is done, I'm also having the e.get message also. So this is the task of front end people to tell the back end guy that something went wrong in the service layer. That means neither I am sending you the null object nor am I sending you the null name, but there is still something happened in your service layer because we have defined it here. So please go and check your service layer. So this is very direct point to point conversation which can happen between the front end guy and the back end guy, because you are handling it so maturely, you are handling it so nicely. So this is the benefit of exception handling in Java. If this much is clear, let me quickly move ahead to the next method, which is, now I'm not going to cover all the business cases for you. I'm expecting you to do that. I'm just trying to make sure that you understand what is the basic idea behind this. So now find all, it is not going to throw anything, but this is our responsibility to see whether some data is returned or not. If nothing is written, it should say the whole list is empty. So how will you do that? So rather than returning it here right away, what we should do is, we should take it in a emp list local variable where we are trying to do find all. Now we can return this happily, but before that, what we want to do is, I want to put a try block here, and try block will have this. There can be a condition if employee list is empty. If this is empty, then what you should do? Throw business exception. New business exception with my error code and my disk error message. So the error message should always be in the format of something which is declarative to the front end people. So it says list is empty. So I must say, hey, list is completely empty. I have nothing to return. We have nothing to return. So it's always good to show the client that you do not have anything in database, hence the table is empty. So if you are on the front end, okay, now if you are expecting something in a tabular format and you are expecting that tabular format to be filled with all employee data, but the table comes out to be empty, so it won't look good. What will be the better solution to it? You should show a message, sorry, the whole list is empty, we do not have any data in the database, please add some and then expect to retrieve some. So that should be something that you should tell to the people rather than just giving a whole empty table. That you should never do. That looks very bad. So while that is not the only case that can happen, there can be many multiple things that could have happened wrong in this code. Maybe in the validations that you are doing before and after this. So you should always catch an exception and then again throw an then throw another business exception with another code. So can you see, we are trying to handle all these exceptions with a very different code numbers so that you are able to understand where it happens. So something went wrong in service layer while fetching all employees. So it's more informative, like it happened in service layer, but when It happened when you were trying to fetch all employees. Similarly, something went wrong in the service layer while saving the employee. So much better, right? You are able to understand what actually happened here. If this is visible, okay, if you find even issues with the bigger fonts, because I've got many requirements that please make a font bigger, I've done that. If it is not comfortable, if I have to scroll much and you are not able to see it all, please let me know in the comment section. I'll reduce the fonts according to your needs. Now in the catch exception, I've made sure that my e.message is still available, so that the front end guy will be able to handle the backend guy all these messages that he is getting from the backend, so that it will be better to debug, because it's just one method here, but when you go into the live projects, you have multiple methods there. How will you handle all those? So this is where this e.get message is also very important, when the front end guy will give this to the backend guy to go and have a look into it. Now similarly, when you try to find by ID, again this ID can be null. So this find by ID says illegal argument exception if ID is null. So this is the similar case of this. So you can just, so it's bound to throw an illegal argument exception. So let's sketch it first here and here itself. So now try block and then the catch block and then the catch block. In try block, what you are trying to take? You are trying to fetch an employee. Now, what if the employee is null? What if the employee doesn't exist? So when I'm trying to get an employee by ID, say 5 doesn't exist, what will happen? It will actually give me an exception, and that exception will not be an illegal argument exception. That will be something different. That will be nothing but no such element exception will be thrown. Okay, so I should catch it in that way. Let me close this first for you. Okay, so I'm going to get another catch block, and we are going to catch what? We are going to get this exception, no such element exception. Now when you're trying to find by ID, and if you give the employee ID as null, so you've given a new message which says given employee ID is null, please send some ID to be searched. Now this is a different case. You have given some ID, but that ID doesn't exist in database. Then what will happen? No such element exception occurs. Then you should have another exception code, and it should says that the given employee ID does not exist in database. It's not null. It doesn't, that particular record doesn't exist in database, and the message is still there. So this will help you in having a better clarity of what is happening behind. Now something same with the delete one. Delete is also having the same illegal argument exception when ID is null. So I'm actually doing nothing, but I'm also using the try and catch block again. Now these are the corner cases, a very less number of corner cases that I'm actually recreating for you. There can be many more such cases which can be actually evaluated only at the runtime when project requirements comes into picture, else it won't be. So I'm expecting you to do that. Explore more, explore into your project and catch as many exceptions you can catch, and try to give as many user-friendly exceptions that you can give to the users. It will be beneficial for your project. So this is how you have handled the business exceptions here. Now once this is done, the controller layer, what we have to do now? Now the controller layer will have the code base which is pointing to the service IMPL. So while calling a method, either the service IMPL can throw an error or the controller can throw an error itself. So you have to put a try catch to do two things. The first thing will be to catch the exception thrown by the business layer, and the second thing to catch an exception which is a casual exception or generic exception which can be occurred without any prior notice. to the service layer or something which happened in the controller itself, then what will you do? So in this catch exception, in the normal thing, what you are trying to do is you are creating an object, you are adding it to the database, and you are returning that to the people. What if this particular add is actually giving you an exception? For example, you have forgot to send the name. So what we have written in this code, we have written that if you are trying to add a particular employee whose name is null, then it will say please send appropriate name as it is blank. So what you have to do here is you have to catch this exception and you have to create a new object of controller exception. And in that controller exception, so this is how we are going to create a new controller exception here. Sorry. And we are going to pass the two things here. While creating a controller exception, what you have to do here is you have to pass two exceptions. Sorry. What it will be? The first one will be e.get error code, and the second will be e.get error message. So what you are trying to do here is just to reuse or reutilize the exception the code that you have written in the business exception. So it will already have the exception code and error message in place into it. What you have to do now is to just create an object, and the return type of this is response entity. So you have to create and return the response entity with that particular exception. Sorry. So I have to return a new employee entity, and now this is going to be of type controller exception, and the value which is going to be returned is CE, and the HTTP status will be, say suppose it is a particular error. So there are multiple errors. So it can be bad request or conflict or I am used. You have multiple options here. So you can use the particular status. Say for example, if the error code is 601, it will be send please appropriately, send the name appropriately. If it is 602, employee is null. If it is 603, you can actually check here and you can set the status here, or you can send a generic status, say bad request. Currently I am doing this, but the good practice will say you have to put if else condition. See if the error code is 601 or 602 or 603. Whatever exception it is, 601 or 602 or 603, and accordingly set the exception code here, HTTP code here. You will be like, suppose it is not found, so you will always have the HTTP status code as not found. See here it is not found. So you can use that, but I'm not doing it right now. It will increase the code length and code limit. So even if you do this, this is no bad, this is no harm. In the catch exception, again what you have to do is you have to create a new controller exception, but now you are not going to have a business exception. So you have to explicitly do that. How will you do that? You will put the exception code which is not in use till now. So 610 was the last one. Now you have to use 611 and will say that something went wrong in controller. So this is how your front end guy will know that yes, some exception has occurred in the front end. Now the same thing you have to do for all the cases. So every code should be under the try block and every code should be under these two catch blocks always. I'm not doing it for all, I'm just doing it for one for you so as to make you understand, and then I'm expecting the rest thing you will be doing on your own, and if you find issues, please let me know in the comment section. For the demonstration purpose, I'm doing this for you. Okay. Now my response entity will be having a question mark, and now all errors are gone. It's again the bad request and the custom exception which is thrown. If this much is clear to you, let me quickly go ahead and make it 612 for you. Let me quickly run this and debug this for you. Now what if the condition I'm trying to send as employee ID is 5? Then it will be in the business exception, it will be catched in the business exception, and I will get the particular error message. Okay, if this is started, let me quickly do one thing. Let me hit this for you. So yes, my employee ID is 5. I'm going into this. Okay. So can you see the custom exception is thrown? This is my business exception. It says given employee does not exist in DB, no value present. Basically, we do not have any such value. This is the error code 607. So let me quickly see, is this 607? So let me see, yes, no such element exception when we are trying to get element by ID. So when you are trying to get element by 5, you can see there is no such element exception and given ID does not exist in DB and the error message is no such value present. If this is clear, you can see that if I do F8, I will get a response and response says there is a method name get employee by ID in employee controller.java. This is the whole class part and the error code is 607. Error message is this. The given employee does not exist in DB. Error message is no value present. Just by looking at this, the front-end developer will understand that he is sending something which does not existing in the DB and hence the error is coming. Okay, but before ending this video, let me take you to one of the mistake that we have done and which is a very common mistake we do during an interview in a hurry manner. So let me tell you what we have done wrong and what we should never do when we go into an interview. We should always take care of that, and that is a basic exception handling that we should know. So do you remember we have coded something in the service class, service IMPL class, where we are trying to add an employee? We are checking something. If the name is empty or name's length is less than or equal to 0. So you should throw an exception. Now this is a very basic exception handling fundamental, that if you're throwing something and if it is in try and catch, your catch will catch it and it will, rather than giving you 601, it will give you 603 and something went wrong in service layer, which is a wrong thing. You should never do that, because your please send a proper name, it's blank is overridden with this particular message. So can you imagine what blunder we have done? And this is a very common mistake we do during an interview. So you should never put the try for validations. You should always use your try only and only with the repository calls. So what code should be in try and what code should not be in try catch block, you have to decide. If you are doing the validations, you should never put in try. If you are not doing the validations, you should always put that thing in the try block. The calling to the repository method should always be in the try block, and the validations that you do should never be in a try block. Now even I'll get some questions here that why I am not using throws here. That is because you know that the throws keyword is only and only required for the checked exception. What we are throwing here is not a checked exception. This is unchecked or runtime exception that we are going to face dynamically. That is why we don't have to put the throws here. That's not required at all. Hence, similarly in this get all employees also we have done this try catch thing. You should not do that. You should never do that. You should, if you are getting this kind of error, you should always initiate it upper side itself. This equals to null. Currently I'm pointing it to null. Next time in the try block, what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to fetch its all things. Now if it is empty, you should throw it. If it is not, you should not throw it. Rather, you should catch it if any exception occurs in find all. Also remember what happened here is after try, you should not write any kind of, okay, let me format this for you so that you did understand. If you have the list is empty, if list is dot find all, if something happens here, please accept it. If it is null, then please don't throw this exception, rather throw that hey, complete list is empty. Please do not throw this exception and return the list. Now if this is done, let's close this. And this is how you have to code everything. I've given you an example. I'm expecting you to do this by yourself. Here simple exception handling concept that you should always remember and you should always take care. Never put any validation under try catch, else your own catch will catch your throw and give you a wrong explanation. Now let me run this for you. Let me show you whether we are working on this or not. So let me give it as ID as 2 and name as empty. So if you can see, the name is empty. If I try to send it, my code actually gets into this part. We have seen that employee name is empty. We should go into this block and it is empty. Now we have a proper message here, and now it is not catched in service. Can you see this is not catched by service exception because it was not in try and catch. Earlier it was into the try and catch of that only. And here if you can see, the exception is proper, which says please send appropriate blank message. And we can see here, if we can see, the error code is 601 and please send the proper name, it is blank. So this I'm covering in the last of this video because I knew you would do this mistake. So just make sure in the mind that please do not put any validations in try, else your own catch will catch it. Let me quickly format it for you just for your reference purpose. So always put your validations above the try and catch, and then use try and catch for just the repository heading. Now you do exception handling in service layer and in the controller layer. If you have any doubt in this custom exception handling, please let me know in the comment section. Simultaneously, I'm expecting you to please comment me with what should I proceed further with. Should I proceed further with exception handling, global exception handling, or should I proceed with the Spring security? Your comments will be helping me to decide the further course ahead. So please like, share and subscribe to help us create more such videos. Thank you.